Leviticus is a new Australian horror film that is directed by Adrian Chiarella. This was a movie I've had on my radar since its trailer dropped, as the concept of religious horror exploring prejudice against queer people is a well I felt hasn't been quite tapped into enough yet. And with the emergence of Australian horror with both Talk to Me and Bring Her Back seeing success, I was curious as to see what direction a newer directorial voice would take the genre in. While far from a perfect experience, Leviticus provides a fresh take on a very tired subgenre and effortlessly toes the line between horrific imagery and teen melodrama. The first thing you notice when watching this film is the on-screen chemistry between Joe Bird and Stacey Clausen. Not only is their romance the catalyst for the events that take place in the film, it also serves as the entire emotional backbone of the narrative. Every time they share the screen together, we get genuine moments of vulnerability and tenderness, making the scenes in which the two characters are forced to combat one another all the more heartbreaking. I felt the movie established the lurking danger of the relationship incredibly well, heightening the stakes of the situation almost immediately. The cult-like religious community that they're both forced to live under gives the movie a very claustrophobic feeling, truly making it so that the characters have no other choice but to deal with the hate that they experience on a daily basis. I felt the concept laid the groundwork for some very interesting ideas to be explored here. There's a specific metaphor that they use here for conversion therapy and how traumatizing it is for those who are victimized by it, and I found those scenes to be incredibly striking, especially the implications of which just being absolutely terrifying. I also feel that Chiarella has a pretty good handle on what his style is supposed to look like, with several shots throughout the film capturing the emotional weight of the scenes they feature in beautifully. Something I bring up a lot when I talk about horror is the ability to know what to show and what not to show, and I feel like he already has that instinct down, something that is pretty remarkable for someone with as little experience as Chiarella. Leviticus really surprised me with how singular it felt, touching on themes we haven't seen quite explored yet in queer horror. It gives me a lot to think about while also being a very tense and unnerving viewing experience. However, like I said at the top of the review, it is far from a perfect movie. For one thing, the film is paced rather poorly, only clocking in at 88 minutes in length. Leviticus flies by some of the more interesting ideas that it was able to conjure. It throws a lot at you at such a short amount of time, and I felt like it could have sat with some of those topics for much longer, giving them the proper weight that they deserved inside the narrative. There were several moments where I felt incredibly excited by what the movie was presenting us, only for it to quickly brush that moment aside to introduce the next idea. The pacing issue affects not only the narrative, but even in some of the performances and especially in the editing department. Moments would move way too quickly, actors would deliver their lines in a way that felt rushed. There was an overwhelming feeling of trying to cram as much as possible into such a short runtime when they could have really taken their time and delivered a much more cohesive final product. With that all being said though, Leviticus is still a very dense and forward-thinking debut that any fan of the horror genre should have on their radar. So for that, I'm going to have to give Leviticus a 3.5 out of 5, like a light 3.5. I really liked this movie. I think that it presented a lot of really cool ideas. I was hooked throughout the first 2/3 of the film. I don't know, I really wish they could have stretched it out a little bit more. I wish that they could have sat with a ton of more moments instead of letting them just fly by, because they were on to some really interesting stuff and stuff that I had not seen before. And I just think that they were trying to constantly push to the next scene when we could have, I don't know, lingered in some of the more horrific moments and they would have hit with that much more of an impact, or explored some of the really cool ideas that they present to us. I don't want to spoil here, but please go see Leviticus, go support horror movies like this. I think that it has the ability to gain a widespread audience, and as we've seen earlier this year with both Backrooms, Obsession, and all of those movies, that horror has an audience. So it just needs to be found. And I think that this movie, especially given the right audiences seeing it, would see more success. And I definitely want to see Adrian Chiarella direct another movie, because I think that he has a lot to say, and this movie is only the start of it. So what did you think of Leviticus? If you saw it, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you with the next video. Thank you so much.